Save Local Journalism number 18. Is history repeating itself? Today we have four of our iconic publishers of the Black press. Terry Jones, the publisher of the Data News Weekly. Over 50 years ago, Joseph Scoop Jones started a weekly journal that chronicled the lives of Black New Orleans. Scoop told stories that were traditionally ignored in the mainstream news journals and papers. He focused on news and information that was quintessential to New Orleans' African American community. Through it, though it crucial and breaking, the news was always on time. Now, 50 years later, the Data News Weekly maintains the title of the People's Paper. We also have Gerald Johnson, the publisher of the Charlotte Post. The Charlotte Post Publishing Company has served as a dominant force in educating, empowering, and enlightening African American communities throughout 8 coverage areas in North Carolina and upstate South Carolina. They've been doing it since 1878, and the Charlotte Post prides itself in upholding its commitment to maintain professional publications and layout, original creative ad designs, impactful editorial content, and multi-channel marketing solutions. We also are joined by Tom Watkins, the publisher of the New York Daily Challenge. The Daily Challenge prides itself as the nation's only daily Black newspaper that reports and records Black history. Watkins' career began at the New York Amsterdam News, the city's oldest Black newspaper. In 1952, he founded his first weekly newspaper, the Afro Times, and in 1972, he founded his flagship paper, the New York Daily Challenge. Also, Tanya Milton of the Savannah Tribune. The Savannah Tribune is a pioneer among weekly newspapers. It's one of the oldest African American owned and operated publications in America. It was founded in 1875. So, welcome to our publishers, Tom, Gerald, Terry, and Tanya. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So, we're going to go right to New York, the Big Apple, Brooklyn. Tom Watkins. Tom,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
No better place to start, right, Tom?
Absolutely.
So tell us, the Daily Challenger, what's the latest? What are you guys working on, and what's the big story coming out of New York?
Well, I'll tell you one thing: we're working on staying in business, and that takes all the effort and all the energy. But we do a lot of good things, and over the years there has been a lot of good things, and a lot of good things in New York. And if we were just, if New York was just a little bit, I'll say not. I'm not going to say smaller because it's so spread out. It has so many different things. So many different people have different ideas that you have to segregate so many people, because if you could get in New York and you can do 200,000 papers a day and people still don't know you're there. They still won't know you're there. So then it becomes a hard thing to segregate the people and the demographic that you're trying to get to that will be most responsive for what you want to do and what needs to be done for the people. Like now we're doing two things. We're focusing on two things: education and health. And there are 10 diseases that we have isolated. Now, on these 10 diseases, 90% of Black people have 1, 2, 3 of them. But if you take all these diseases and you pick out one person, chances are 9 out of 10 times you're going to hit it. Because they got it. Yeah. Be it your eyes, be it your whatever, your colon, whatever it is. Whatever, there are 9 out of 10 Blacks have one of these diseases. So we're focusing on the diseases, what to do about them, what people should be doing, what their daily regimen should be, the foods they should eat, the exercises they should take, getting the companies that feed, when I say feed it, they do the medications for these ailments, and asking them to come on board with us so that we could solve some of these problems that people have. So that when we have a pandemic, all right, we're ready for it, and we're not the ones that are doing 70% of the ailment sophisticated results.
Absolutely.
So that's about it. I mean, the focus is education and health.
Yeah, and we'll learn more as this broadcast goes on, Tom. I want to go out to Terry Jones in New Orleans because Terry's been really busy. The first virtual conference in NNPA history. We are asking everyone, inviting everyone to register. It's free, virtual NNPA2020.com. And Terry, you've had your hands full with that as well as your own paper. Can you tell us what's been going on this week?
Well, actually, it's been exciting. Like Tom, we have our own challenges in New Orleans with the virus and just staying alive. But we're really excited about the virtual convention. I'm convention chair, and I've been working very hard with the team, trying to make this a outstanding conference. It's the first time we have done it before, but it's coming together. We have Ziggy Marley. We just landed him, and he's going to close he's going to close everything out. You know who Ziggy Marley is. I'm sure everybody knows who he is. Bob Marley's son. And then we have interesting people who are going to come and speak. We have Ice Cube's going to come in and speak about the Black press. Mary Wilson's going to speak about the Black press. So we have, I think, a pretty exciting agenda coming up, and hopefully everybody around the country will come in and take a look at it and be entertained and be informed, because I think that there's an opportunity for us, the Black press, to let folks that don't normally know us know who we are and how long we've been here and how long we've struggled and how important we are in each of our communities. So I think it's going to be exciting, to do this thing. I'm ready for it. It's like I knew put my hands into. I even feel younger. Like, wow, let's get in it. So hopefully you all make it happen, and everybody around the world knows more about the Black press at the end.
Yeah, Terry, to your point, just before this broadcast, I was speaking with our president and CEO, Dr. Ben Chavis, and that lineup, we have several live interviews that'll happen as well. Stephanie Mills will be with us, Anthony Hamilton, Carlos Santana, Jamel Hill will also be with us, as will the actor and entertainer Leon Salt and Pepper, and others. So it should be an exciting conference. Tanya Milton, the Savannah Tribune, as we go down south, how's things going there, and what are you guys working on?
Well, we're like everybody else trying to stay alive in this pandemic. We have had, it's been a political season. So we've had some elections going on. As a matter of fact, I'm running for 5th District County Commissioner. So staying on top of the elections, keeping people aware of the things that are going on, get people out to vote, get out to vote rallies, getting ready for November, actually, to ensure that we get the right person in the right house. But locally, we've had to deal with the pandemic as far as going up on numbers. We've recently had another surge on the numbers. So we have been, some businesses have had soft openings. We have, of course, you can see I'm working from home. We've been at home since 2015. So, but with that, with the numbers, with the surge numbers, we have a mandate now to wear masks, wear face coverings when we go out. There has not been a curfew issue since we had the peace rally that we did after George Floyd was killed. Now we've got other killings that just happened just this weekend in Atlanta. So we're dealing with hate crime. We finally got that hate crime bill passed 2 weeks ago. The governor signed it. So we're just dealing with a lot of different issues. And I'm sure it's probably more localized, and everybody has something different that they're dealing with in their own community. So we're just trying to stay alive, get the word out, keep our people reading, I have one downside, and that downside is that we have not been going to church. Church has been canceled, and that has been one of the largest ways for me to circulate my papers. So now I'm having to get creative and find new ways of doing things innovatively to get the word out.
Yeah. And Gerald Johnson of the Charlotte Post. Gerald, same question for you. What is the Charlotte Post working on this week?
Well, this week, as with most weeks, we're dealing with COVID-19. It's been the focus of our editorial department because the African American community in this market, and probably in all markets, are being impacted a lot heavier than anybody else. And we're dealing with what's in the ground. Basically, the African American community is being impacted more because of just things that have happened over the years in terms of where we're living, what we're eating, a lot of issues just based on the fact of who we are and how we have been segregated against and put in certain areas of the city. And so we're trying to bring all this alive with our reporting on a weekly basis, but also we're having virtual events where we're bringing people that can talk about this together to have a conversation about it and have people weigh in and give their comments. We also have a reporter that we brought online that's doing specific reporting on COVID-19 and interviewing people that have been impacted heavily, even by having COVID-19 or knowing somebody that has had it, and digging into okay, tell us about your life story dealing with this pandemic. And so we're concentrating very heavily on the pandemic because it's impacting the city heavily, the markets heavily, as a matter of fact. And it's impacting us as a company. To Tanya's point, one of our heavy distribution areas is churches, as well as a lot of stores in the community that are not open now because of the pandemic. And we're figuring out different ways to get the word out, and that's pretty much what's going on here. But our concentration has been on communicating the issues around this disease to the community. So this pandemic.
Yeah, and so for each of you, and perhaps you guys can discuss it openly here on this forum, what has been some of the biggest challenges during this COVID-19 pandemic for you, for the newspapers?
Is that open?
That is definitely open.
Well, the biggest challenge, and I'm sure this is going to be echoed over and over again, but when this pandemic hit, the very next thing that happened is that we started losing advertising like crazy because, and for a good reason, because a lot of the places that we distribute to, a lot of the stores that were advertising are closing, and a lot of the retailers were actually shutting down temporarily. Some of them going out of business altogether. And so we were tragically impacted by the decline in the advertising dollars. But fortunately, we have several campaigns going on, which was a very interesting thing for us and a lot of other African American newspapers. We started asking our readers to donate, and we're having a great donation campaign going on where our readers are giving to us because we're explaining to them the situation that we're in. And the government has stepped in, and we've been writing grants. And so all of that has been going on since this hit, and we're surviving just based on all of the revenue sources that we've created over the last couple of months.
Yeah, Tom, did you want to weigh in on that?
Well, yeah, I like what he just said. I think that's a very good way to do. You know, where I am more, I mean, advertising is a problem here, but far more difficult than the advertising is the distribution. Distribution, because there's nobody on the street. There's nobody, you can't even get people to go house to house to deliver the paper. Even if you want to give it away free, to put it in the doorways.
Yeah.
So distribution is by far, and where I am, the most difficult to overcome.
Yeah.
The advertising, we got some contracts that just continue to run, and we'll make, we'll do a little better. But the contracts kind of keep us able to print. But what do you do with the papers once you print them? Everybody was home. I mean, they just scared to come out of the house. And so if you didn't put it in, in the slots, you weren't getting to them. And that was the most difficult part for us, is to just be able to get the papers into the hands of our readers.
Yeah. Terry, you're on mute.
I'm on mute. Okay. Can I speak now?
Yes, go ahead.
No, I was saying that in my market, we were a very small kind of market. We have like a big country town, so we are still able to go to mall park stores and those kind of things. Outside our 20,000 distribution, we cut down a bit, and of course we cut down again in terms of staff. I don't have the staff here as much anymore. I have to let people go. Some people work from their houses, but historically, African American newspaper, African American businesses, we make it do what it do. I mean, we try to make, stop here, take something from here, grab something from there, but it keeps rolling, So I mean, there's a difficulty in it, but it's kind of, we invented this business as long as these guys here, you just kind of roll over and make it work some kind of way. Because we've been there 50-something years, we never missed a issue, even through Katrina, we didn't miss issues.
Yeah.
So you just have to fight forward. I think that you have to get rid of the camouflage. I mean, all that's real, all that's there, but what's biggest there is Black Lives Matter. And we have to focus on that, and that's what I try to do, to make sure we focus on that. Doesn't slip us by. We've been a vital part of our communities, historically, right? We come 80 years of NMPA and in 93 overall. This movement is so very important to us to keep it moving and keep the drive going, because you're going to get more loyalty to readers. You're going to get more advertisers coming out the hole. If you hold on to the people who are identifying how important we are in the community, how important we've been in the community, which also relates to how important the Black church and the Black newspaper has been in the community. So I think we need to keep our focus and drive on the movement of people, understanding that this disproportionate segregation that's going on, that needs to be focused, identified, and destroyed. I mean, you have a president who stood at Mount Rushmore and said, basically to divide the nation. Basically said that brown people, Black people are not important. You're not going to take down the Confederate stuff. You're not going. So you've obviously drawn a line, and Black folks and people calling people of compassion are not on your side of the line. So I mean, I think outside of making through the pandemic, we need to keep ourselves focused and engage in our community to keep that afloat, and not let the pandemic get in the way of the reality of our people that's gone through more than pandemics throughout the history of our time. So that's kind of where.
Yeah, and Tanya Milton of the Savannah Tribune.
Yeah, we have experienced a lot of advertisement. The best thing is that we had contracts that started in the beginning of the year that are still in force. So that's keeping us alive. We've had a challenge on getting the papers to the people. Of course, we do have a mailing list, but like I said, our biggest circulation was having people from the churches. So some people are still having church. Now they've started going out, having outside services where they stay in their cars, but they go to the churches in the parking lot. So I'm able to get papers in people's hands by doing that. And then as far as the advertising, we're trying to come up with new ideas. Just this StreamYard. I just had a tutorial on this last week, talking about how we can get advertisers to come on and perhaps use this as an advertising platform, wherein they could come in and talk about their business for so many minutes or so many hours, or so many to get people to view. Like we're streaming on Facebook now, we would have to increase our Facebook visibility so that it, to invite people to come on. That's the way that we are considering perhaps doing some pieces of advertising.
Yeah.
That could be added value, but then it could also be another resource.
Yeah. And to each of you, we know that the coronavirus has affected so many people, particularly African Americans. Has any of you been personally affected by the virus? Someone in your family, someone who works for you? Has anybody close to you been affected by this?
Um, I have not had anybody directly related, but of course, definitely in some of my organizations, we've had deaths, and it continues to go on. My daughter, fortunately, has been fine. She works for our health department here, and she's what they call a contact person. So that's what they've been doing now. If you've had contact with somebody who's had the virus, then they are making phone calls to let them know that they have been in contact with somebody that had the virus. So unfortunately, the numbers, we've asked that we're trying to get the numbers to go down. So that's why it's mandatory now that we're wearing facial masks, and when we go out, it's mandatory. The governor hasn't made it mandatory for the state, and neither has the county of Chatham. The city of Savannah is mandatory that we wear face coverings.
Yeah.
And we've had some businesses that have started opening now, they're having to close again because employees have been affected by the virus. Some of them have obtained the virus, and then you're not able to have your employees, so therefore you got to close and quarantine. So that's what we've been dealing with.
Yeah. Anyone else had someone that they know or know of, but close to, who's been infected?
No family, friends, yes, friends, that had COVID, and most got over it. I don't know of anyone that had it that's passed away from it yet, but family members, no, not yet. Hopefully not at all, but not yet.
Yeah.
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 Also, I have a friend of mine who passed away very early in the game, very early. He got it before it got big, before it came down. He had some other stuff, diabetes and stuff, and he passed,
Mhm.
I think that my general group been doing their due diligence. I have a mother who's 95, and we have a lockdown in my sister's house, and we don't let her go anywhere. We bring her everything she wants, everything she needs, but we're not gonna let her around her, so we try to make sure we keep it straight. Yeah, so
Absolutely. And I know one of the topics for this year's virtual conference is about COVID-19. So people should stay tuned. Again, you can register free at www.virtualnmpa2020.com. And we do, and I guess Tanya Milton, one of the things we like to do is make sure that we get a little closer to our mic so everybody can hear you, because I think what you're saying, what everybody's saying, is very important. Tom Watkins, I didn't ask you yet. Did you know of anyone who was affected?
Oh, well, in New York, it's hard not to know.
Yeah.
Someone that was affected in some way. I mean, I've had friends with the wife caught it and the husband didn't. And so he just stayed with her and he never caught it. And some of them went to the hospital. And when they got to the hospital, really one of the things started to happen was that they felt they had it. They got high temperature, but then the ambulance driver said, "Are you sure you have it?" And they said, "Well, no, I mean, I feel bad." They said, "Well, if you're not sure, don't let me take you to this hospital where everybody has it."
Yeah.
Everybody has it. You will have it for sure if you don't have it. So fear kind of kept them home, and they overcame that situation. But I mean, so many people in New York had it. It was devastating. I mean, so devastating. They had bodies in rooms and just people dying, putting them in refrigerator trucks, and We had, gee, God, thousands and thousands of them. You know, we just had mass graves of bodies that had no one claiming them. You know, they just went to the hospital and died, and it was really a sad thing. You know,
Yeah.
it really scared me. So I didn't want to go out.
Well,
I took it all seriously because I had so many contributing factors that I felt if I had caught it, I would have been done for. You know, I got the little list. When you get to my age, you got a little something. You know, a little bit of everything. So, but I wasn't. You know, I was so tight and so aware of it.
yeah.
Kept my distance, kept my mask on, did everything. You know.
Yeah, I think Tanya.
Bags.
Yeah, Tom. I think Tanya's trying to weigh in.
Yeah, Tom just reminded me of the couple that he spoke about how the wife got it and the husband never did. That was my puppet and her husband. She actually contracted it, and they were in the same house, and he never got it, but they quarantined apart from each other. And
Exactly.
Fine now, and he never got it.
He never got it. I mean, they just stayed there for weeks and weeks together, and one would have it, and the other never got it.
Sounds like the one gave it to her.
Yeah, I can't explain it. I just don't know. I was just glad that no one passed from it, and you know, my friends, you know, no one they got very sick, you know, and the temperatures and whooping around and sneezing and coughing. It's really, you know, the congestion in the chest. It's just enormous pain and discomfort. So
yeah.
So one of the problems that I'm seeing is that not enough people in this area are taking it seriously enough. And I'm like you, Tom. I take this very seriously because I'm at the age now. I'm not going to recuperate easily. Mm-hmm. But we're seeing too many people that just not taking it seriously. They are wearing masks. They're trying to go to parties and party with no mask on. And then a couple of days later, they're coming back with COVID-19. But we got to start taking this thing a lot more seriously.
Yeah, very much so.
I think one of the big scary things is the people who walk around with it and don't know they have it and don't have any illness and they're walking among you. I mean, it's like a bad. But I was thinking about Tom. I saw it when I was looking at the news one day. I'm like, they were like stacking bodies on top of bodies. It's like it was you know, that it's like a movie, and then you see United Movies and CNN. It's like, you know, it's like
the real deal.
Yeah, it is the real deal. And you know, when we talk about the virus, and you guys have been talking about your experiences, but let me ask you, as publishers, how much news from outside of your community, your market, do you try to deliver to your readers?
Not enough.
Me? Oh, I think nearly 65% of the news I deliver is from outside of my market. Well, I say outside of my market, maybe New York City, but there's so much in New York City. When I say outside of my million people that are in Brooklyn, you know, if you want to count Manhattan, the Bronx, and Jersey, we have papers in Jersey. The market is just enormous. You know, it's just enormous with a lot of different things, a lot of different problems. There's just so much to be done and so much to be said. Everyone's got a problem. You know, got some problem. You know, and we just live with those problems because, you know, I don't know anyone that this is, well, you know, how can I help is what we all should be saying. And we got a lot of ways to help our community.
Yeah. And
one of the balancing acts that we have to go through is that we got a lot of people that are very interested in the local news, and we try to give them as much of that, but still we're bringing in a lot of news that's not local. And one of the things that's driving us to continue to do that is that we're on Apple News as well. And we get a lot of traffic from Apple News based on the fact that all that we put on Apple News is primarily not local unless we think it has an interest outside of Charlotte. But Apple News has been our go-to place for non-local news.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think we do a general blend, and we always have. We have a national section and a local section, and I think that everybody should look at that as being the news, and nobody just wants to know what local news is. Sure, I keep my cover as local, but we have a general blend, and it's kind of like what Joe was saying. But the whole paper's online. We have so we have online. We have a newsletter that people are not only looking at what's happening in New Orleans, but looking at a perspective overall of what's happening with African Americans.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Tanya?
I guess we have a balance as well, but I use a lot of my online visibility for my national. But basically, the print is more local. Of course, Stacey, I hit you up every now and then, so,
Mm-hmm.
especially your story you just did on the George Floyd. So we try to keep that motivation going on the hate crimes that we've experienced across the country and locally as well. But
Yeah.
we basically online for my local, but basically for print.
Yeah.
Let me ask a question.
Oh, go ahead, Tom.
How many publishers? Well, do you publishers do focus groups?
We have.
You just start picking people from different sections of your community and put them all in a room, give them a cup of coffee, look at them from behind the mirror, and have someone in there that say, well, what is it you want to read? What is it you want to get out of the paper? Where do you find what you want to read? And what could this paper do to help you do more? And if the paper did this, would it serve you better? Just do that. We do a lot of that. A lot of that, and a lot of different age groups. Let's take a different age group. Take some kids. When I say kids, a kid to me is 50, 55, 60. But I'm talking about all the way down to the 20s, and let's have them and say, well, what is it? What is it that we should be doing? We have a whole new paper though that we have the New American. It's just a young people paper. I mean, it's just a hip hop and all that stuff aside from the daily challenge. So when we do these, these focus groups, they almost come like a party that we haven't done. But to find out what it is they think they want to read. And you'll find a lot of things that never, especially me, because I'm so generational back, this way back, but what is it, the Z generation and the Y generation, and I used to talk to baby boomers. They got so old, they're as old as I am now. Baby boomer. Well, I'm a baby boomer. I said, oh God. They used to be, that's the young people on the block, the baby boomers. But now, hell, they're 60 years old. They're not. But I get them in there too. Just ask questions. Just ask and ask and ask and ask. And that's why when we go out of the area, but whatever we want, to pick up what we want, we know what we want to get. So a lot of times we're just hand picking out of the area to get some of those topics that people ask for that we didn't have in our area. And so it worked. It works from a readership, but it's still hard thing for me is distribution. Ads is always, but that distribution, the church is almost closed here.
Here too.
It's almost closed. We got a paper we put in the churches, and we used to leave it there on Saturday mornings, and they would put it out. Not happening.
Yeah.
It's
But
not
now,
happening.
we've had we got an e-edition, and our circulation has grown tremendously through this pandemic, just through our e-edition, because people now understand that we won't be able to get them the paper for whatever reason. So they're coming to our e-edition and reading it online in both of our markets. So that's been sort of a lifesaver for us in terms of people getting the content of the newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point about younger people, when we did a survey with younger people, most of them said that they're not going to pick up a paper.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so we put them on Facebook and all. So we got a great social media person here, and they are flocking in, getting the content by coming to one of the social medias and then linking on to our website, and we are attracting them, but we can't get them on paper. We got to get them some other way.
Mm-hmm.
But we get them.
Absolutely. Our whole dynamics of like anybody over 35, they go to my website and read the whole paper on website. They have a problem in their head about picking up a paper. But
Oh yeah.
still, the older folks like to pick up a paper and put it in their hand. So we have them in both places, right? I think our kind of mode of operation changed from Katrina, and it kind of works well now with the pandemic because we had to go online, we had to go on Facebook, we had to do those things when people were was displaced during Katrina. So we had to get to our people some kind of way. So we kind of set up those other mechanisms prior to the pandemic.
Yeah.
But like in my neighborhood, the little mom and pop stores, man,
Let me tell you something from way back. And I'm gonna go way back to the 1950s. Early 50s. And black papers were just selling more papers, and they couldn't hit the newsstand before somebody would buy them. I mean, black papers were black papers. And you think one thing and you think another. Now, we used to say, black papers, people don't want to buy them, but black people were always buying the papers. So then when you took a survey back there, and I will tell you, 65 to 75% of people who bought papers, black people who bought papers in the 40s, in the 50s, and the 60s, bought it for one reason. One reason they bought those papers. And you know what that was?
I have an idea, but tell us.
To read the classified section.
Yeah.
You didn't have a black paper that didn't have a classified section. And the classified section had people looking for homes, people wanted to know where they can get an apartment, people want to know where they can get a job, who would lend them money, who wouldn't lend them money. All that was in the classified section. You want a job? Got to look in the black paper classified section. You want whatever you wanted. You just went there and went to the category and said, "Oh man, I gotta find this. I gotta do this. Where can I get a loan?
So
Where
Tom,
can I get this?"
Tom,
Classified.
Tom, what do they do today though?
That's the trouble. You just hit right on what I'm looking for. Because there's no reason other than to pick it up and leave it to the family that you'll find a black person will say, "Gee, I gotta get that paper." I mean, their picture may be in it, so they gotta get it. But nobody's gonna tell you, well, if I don't get that black paper, I won't know where I can borrow some money when I'm gonna need it next year. What bank is going to give me a loan? What bank won't give me a loan? Where can I find an apartment? Who's just going to cast me off and not going to let me do that? You know?
So
Where
what
can I do my own thing? We don't look for the black paper to tell us that. We're trying to pick up the black paper and say, "Oh man, what's the entertainment section saying? Oh, this woman had a baby." No, I can find out how next week if the woman had a baby. But the urgency, when I say that, the urgency. Now, they always said that black people bought the Daily News because the Daily News had the number. That was the only reason they bought it, to find out what was the last three numbers in the handle. And do you know, when the lotto came in with a different number, They don't mind the daily news anymore. Daily news is sinking faster than anything you could imagine.
Yeah. Daily News is pretty much without staff right now. Yeah. Yeah.
But
You know?
Go ahead. Tanya Milton wanted to weigh in.
Yeah, I think what has happened is those companies have found other platforms to put their information out there. I mean, social media. I mean, you've got the employment agency that they go online. Everything is online. I remember when the internet started, and it was my job to sell other companies to our internet. That was when I worked for the Daily Paper. But then now everybody has a website, everybody has Facebook, and if you got anybody, you need anybody. If you need anybody, you need somebody who's going to deal with your social media.
Yeah.
Social media is exactly where everything is. I mean, that's where they found their partner. That's where they found the job online.
I don't know. And maybe you ladies want to find boyfriends. Is that what we should put in there? Maybe that'll help us.
Hey, Terry Jones.
we got
ladies. But what I'm saying is, it may not be that particular thing. It may be something that we got to find that would be so attractive. But my point being that the black press had something.
Right. Nobody else had.
They had to pick it up. They felt. I mean, a feeling.
Well, Tom,
feeling that we got to get our copy of the black press.
Yeah.
We just got to get it. I mean, it's life. It's life saving. It's you know, and I'm not saying there are other papers that have that or anything, but that's what the black press had when they were when the Pittsburgh Courier was selling 325,000 papers a week. You know, and if you ever, when I was a kid in the 40s, my father took me there. You would never believe. If you looked at them in the time, you would think they're the same place. Because those guys started running the Pittsburgh Courier like Tuesday night and didn't finish till Friday morning.
Yeah.
They ran the national edition, then they put the other, then the local edition, then the other edition, taking them out right on out to the railroad.
Well, Tom Watkins of the Daily Challenge, I want to direct Terry Jones of the Data News to a question that Sean Sullivan is writing. He says that, well, here's a second question. I wanted to bring up the other comment there from Sean. Can we bring up that comment?
Talking about we don't have a focus.
Yeah. Here it is right there. He says, you folks are supposed to be thought leaders. Stop worrying about what others want to read. It's why you don't have readers anymore, because you don't have a focus anymore. Terry, I want you to start off responding to that.
I don't have an idea what he means. I mean, our focus is always African American. Our focus is always towards our community and what's best for our community. I mean, the problem is that, and I can teach the background, but advertisers, advertisers went to the web and they're like, oh, that's a wonderful place to go. And then they realized that we have a direct relation with our community. Our focus is on our community and what their needs are and what their injustices are. That's what we've been there for since, like Tom said, since the beginning. So if you talk about a focus, that is our focus. And a lot of even national people have come back to us, understood that we have our neighborhoods. We've been in our neighborhoods. Like Gerald said, he asked for money from the neighborhood. The neighborhood says, yes, I want you to be here. I'll give you money to be here. If that's not a focus, if that's not a testimony of what we do in our community, I don't know what the gentleman's talking about.
Yeah.
Well, let me throw just a little something into this mix. One of the things, I sort of hear what he's saying, but the focus back in the day, I'm gonna break this down in a couple of ways. Back in the day, we weren't covered by anybody but us. Mm-hmm. Okay, nobody covered us but us, and it made life real great because we had the black community in our hands because it was the only way they could get any type of coverage. Mm-hmm. Today, that's gone, because today everybody's covering the Black community now, and so we got to sort of get a different twist on what, how, and who we cover, and how much of it do we cover. But the other side of it is technology, because back in the day also we were the producers for the consumers.
Right.
But when technology came to the table, they can produce their own content now. We are no longer the producers of content to everybody, because they get to pick up a cell phone now and do whatever they want to with it and create their own, basically, news for anybody else that want to see that. And so at the end of the day, technology and the mere fact that everybody now is getting into the newsroom for Black news, our focus is sort of different in that sense, because now we don't have that same lane that we had back in the day. And so we just got to be more creative with who we're trying to reach and how we're going to reach them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're getting more comments along those lines. Sean Sullivan says, "Look at the screen and take it in. What do you see? Older generation complaining that the kids aren't reading. Why do you think that is?" Well, I'll start myself on that, because we've had a few of these streams that Sean Sullivan apparently has not seen, that we have the younger generation on these streams talking to each other, talking to the older generation and others. So I would invite Sean to continue watching, because in fact next Monday we'll have the younger generation again on the stream. But I'll allow you publishers to go and talk about what Sean Sullivan has mentioned here.
I don't think it has anything to do with them not wanting to read the news. Again, it's where they want to read it. I've had young people tell me that the content is great, but they aren't going to pick up a newspaper. They will get it from a phone, they will get it online, but they aren't going to pick up a newspaper. And somebody mentioned earlier in the conversation, they don't understand why they won't pick up paper, but young people just aren't into buying newspapers, even though they are much so into reading the content. And so it's not a matter of not liking the content, it's a matter of how we're delivering that content that makes the difference. And we, as a newspaper, we're doing all. We're doing print, we're doing online, we're doing, the only thing we haven't gotten to yet, which we're working on, is a mobile app. And that's had several young people tell me, why don't you get a mobile app? I said, why would you pay for it? I'll do that. But at the end of the day, you gotta go where they're trying to get their content. But the content, I will say, is as good as any. I'll put my editorial staff up against any editorial staff. And at the end of the day, it's just a matter of how you're getting it to them. And it's not so much the content, it's the delivery mechanism.
And also we have young people who are contributing writers who do write their stories, and they write their stories based on their age group and who they're talking to and who they're interviewing. So we keep that. We have a mix of readers. Our readers go from young to old. So Sean, I just want him to know, keep listening, keep reading, keep checking us out here on this platform, because next week the Savannah Tribune will be back with Lauren James, who is one of our very young writers. She's Generation Z. She's not a millennial. She's Generation Z. So we're excited about that. We're excited about her getting involved as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And one of the problems too that Sean is having he's having a problem with the phrase like back in the day. And again, I think sometimes if you neglect to know where you came from, know your past and acknowledge your past, you are bound to repeat the mistakes of the past. Terry Jones, I'd like for you to jump in on that. You're muted, Terry.
I think what's important for people to understand, there's a lot of avenues of information. There's a lot of avenues of the blogs, there's webcams or whatever. But we have an obligation to the information we give to our communities to be as accurate as we can have it to be. So if you look at it, everybody's got an opinion, everybody's got some kind of something to put up to give their opinion about something. I think the value we put in is that we are obligated to, when we put news out, for us to verify as much as we can that that's real or we identify it as not. Everybody doesn't have that responsibility or that, you know, that creed that I think we all have. So, I mean, even as we put our young people in writing, we have to read those things and make sure that stuff is legitimate in terms of, you know, the old school, that if it's not the right news, then I'm have a legitimate business and you can sue me for it. You can't sue a blog for it. You can't sue it. So when you look at our responsibility, when you read what we have in our paper, we have a responsibility to make sure it's as real as we can make it be, other than somebody just putting up something because they have an opinion about something. There is a thing called fake news. It's not what Trump says. It's like, it's kind of like a part of the whole web thing. You know, everybody can throw up whatever they want to say and try to make it legitimate. I think we're responsible for what we put in our papers. I think you're right, Gerald. The problem is where put it in the right place where he can get it. But to the day, we have a responsibility of what we put out. And I
even when we put it on social media, we still got the same responsibility. Because we still can get sued if we put our name on it. And so at the end of the day, you're exactly right there. That has to be our creed, because we get sued if it's not that way.
Well, and along those lines, and speaking of, he wants us to stop thinking about back in the day. Well, let's move forward then. You guys, your business, so how has it changed over the last 5 years, and what changes you see coming up over the next 5 years?
That's a tough one. We've grown our web audience. We've grown our social media audience. We've started sending out tons of newsletters. We've grown that audience, and so basically we've gone from being primarily print to now a lot of digital components of our business that's keeping our audience going. The problem, personally, from our company's perspective, is we can't replace the advertising revenue digitally. And so we still got to figure out how we're going to get that money out of the digital components. But our audience has grown tremendously, strictly from a digital reach. And we're continuing that. And for the next 5 years, we're going to do things like the young people are telling us to do. We're going to create a mobile app. We're going to continue to do things to help people to get the news any way we can, including events. We started a lot of events and bringing people into our office and having conversations about what they want to hear and what they want to see. And so over the next 5 years, it's going to be challenging, especially for me, because I'm getting older. In 5 years from now, I'm even older than I am now. But we got a great staff, and the staff is working very hard to help us meet and reach these goals, because the next 5 years are going to be tough for print. And we got to figure out ways to still get that great content in any way we can to the people that need to see it. And once you can prove that, the advertisers will come. But it's a challenge, and we got to work through it. But the interesting thing is, this is not a black news challenge. This is a media challenge. Everybody's having this same problem, not just us.
Yeah.
The daily paper is going down quicker than anybody else in this market. I can't speak for anybody else, but they're suffering. And so it's not a black thing; it's a media thing.
Yeah, I think Tanya Milk wanted to weigh in there too.
Well, I think, as Gerald just said, we're having the same problem. We have grown our internet audience as well. So just as we saw our audience in the print, we sell our audience online. So we're coming up with new ideas on doing that. The biggest challenge, and I had to get with Steve and Steve Larkin about getting me a media kit so that I would know how to price out my online advertising. And so far, it's come along. I mean, I have a few people that come on right now. I've even got people who will even pay to put their editorial content in, and they want just online. So, if we get more of that coming, then that definitely gives me a platform to sell the media. When we continue to grow that audience, we sell that audience. That's what the advertisers want. They want that audience.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's a combination. And I think right now, what people understand when they talk about all the newspaper business going down, is not doing that, they're not really talking about us. I think, like you said, Gerald, they're talking about overall business. I think that, as I was saying before, a lot of folks advertise that want that personal relationship with those communities. understand that we are the ones to give that. So I'm talking not only African American, but Italian and Jewish, and they're going into the community and hitting them directly. So what I do is a combination, combination of print and online, and try to make that. Now, I think that combination is going to last longer for directional market medias than it's going to work for general medias.
True.
However, I'm saying maybe 5-10 more years, but I think that we have more longevity in that community, speaking the news to the community than general market newspapers. So we're not out. A plan, yeah, we have to go to the plan. I think you're right, Joe. Figure out how to make the same kind of money and balance that out. It's going to be interesting. But I think really nowadays with Black Lives Matter and the things that are going back into the importance of the community and the importance of our plight and what we need. I think we have a larger longevity than I think we had like 5 months ago, to be honest with you. Because I think at some point they're going to look at the history of what we are, look at the history of our communities, and abide by looking at a new look in terms of African Americans and where we're going and what our role is in America. So at this point, I think there's either another engagement who can be here longer with some kind of balance online and on the street.
Yeah. Tom Watkins, Daily Challenger.
Yeah. What you want to know? I don't know. I don't know so much. I'm just listening to the publishers, and I listen to what I say, what they're saying, because it's all so true. Journalistically and graphically, the black press is good or better than it's ever been. And we got more people now than we've ever had. When all these papers had all these great big circulations, they had about 1/4 of the population that we have now. They didn't have these numbers of people. Certainly weren't as educated as they are now. And and just like we're talking about the digital, you want to do digital, but the problem with digital is the same thing as papers. You got to get hits. You got to provide something that they want so they'll come.
Yeah.
And keep coming and come back. And I was talking about the digital people and your numbers and the hits and we had this thing, and I've taken down my site 5 or 6 times since 1990 because it just didn't. It was not doing what I did, and I always thought that whatever I had, and I got the person, and we talk about, oh man, we run this into the ground with people, and people I talk to, and in the focus groups, and people on staff, and my kids, and everybody else. You talk about numbers, and you talk about money, and actually speaking, I will tell you, and I got an argument right now, that if I went back to the old way I used to do, and that is go out, heck with all that doggone national advertising. And I went to store, because those stores out there on Fulton Street and out there on DeKalb Avenue and all those places that we have, these little mini marts and things down there, those guys were making money. And they are ready to advertise. But I'm too lazy to go store to store to store to take the ad, to make up the ad, then take the ad back, have them correct the ad, then take the ad back, and then take it back to them and put it in the paper, then have only 80% of them pay you. Because the other they ain't gonna pay it. So you're only gonna get paid by 8 out of 10 of them, right? But you're gonna make some money, but you're gonna work like a dog. You're working like a dog all the time, man.
Well, you know what?
but that works now.
Yeah.
That works. If you were to come to Brooklyn, they got papers on papers on papers on papers, all kinds of well, you don't call them papers. You call them throwaways. You call them with all those other names. You don't want to call them newspapers because they only have 1 or 2 pages of news. That's all they got. And then
I think we're losing connection with Tom Watkins, but we're talking about the print and digital, but is it accurate to say that you guys are moving away from being newspaper publishers and towards being content providers?
Are we moving away from what?
From being newspaper publishers toward being content providers.
No, I don't know what we're moving away from. I don't know what we're moving to. I'm totally confused. Yeah, so I'll tell you where we go. Because when I look at papers and I look around and I pick up the paper and I say, gee, man, I don't see any focus whatsoever. They just see news that comes in and they think, oh, man, my people are like this. Oh, I didn't put this here. My people, oh, this is a good story for this lady because she like, put this here, put this here, put this, with no focus of saying, well, is this what my folks want to read? Is this leading to something for me developing a readership? Do I have a plan? A plan that says, well, I want to get people that are doing this, so I'm going to run all these stories to draw them in. I don't know if we're doing that. I think we're just throwing the doggone stuff up in the air, lay the page out, where it comes down, that's it.
Yeah, don't lose your hat.
And deliver it, and that's it for this week. Because we just want to make some money, and we can't take our eyes right now off the problem, the money problem.
Well, let me tell you a story that I told my staff back several years back. We had a staff meeting. Well, it was actually a staff retreat, and I brought a record of James Brown. I brought a CD of James Brown, and then I played James Brown on one of the music apps. And in doing that, the message that I was trying to get across was, it doesn't matter the delivery system. What matters is the content. Nothing changed with James Brown's phone, regardless of where we played it. And that's the same mentality we got to have with news. The newspaper is a delivery mechanism. The content is what people are buying. So whether it's on a newspaper, whether it's online or wherever, if the content is great, and I will reemphasize, my editorial staff is the best out there. If the content is great, people will find it and they will actually read it. And so it doesn't matter if it's on a newspaper or not. You got to focus on the content. And that's what this is all about, is content. So yeah, I've always been a content publisher, not a newspaper publisher.
Yeah.
And I wanted to hear from Terry and Tanya on that as well.
Well, I think that our job is to be a content provider. But the newspaper business is what I'm in. I'm in the business. I'm not, I think if I'm just providing content and I'm not getting an ad and making money, then I'm not in business anymore. So this is what the difference is, right? For me, it all balances out, right? I'm not, I don't know how to be a content provider and not be a newspaper or business person. So if you can clarify content provider, but if he's saying that my job is only to give content and not receive any advertising, no.
No, I'm not saying that you aren't seeing any revenue. Now, the revenue won't be the same as print, but you still got to find the revenue. I mean, just like with the records, even though the records are being sold in different ways, you got to find a way to sell the content regardless of how you provide it. So that's part of the business.
Yeah. And with us now, basically, this church is social. Of course, we do current events, but when church is social, the problem now is there ain't no church and there ain't social stuff going on in this pandemic. So content is very hard to come by. We find ourselves creating content with health information. It's not the local stuff that we normally have. Who's going to be the speaker at church on Sunday? Who's going to be the speaker at the banquet? There ain't no banquets going on. So we're having to get savvy about finding content. So it's definitely, we provide content. We're content providers, but we have to do it in a fashion where we have an audience that wants to read that content.
Yeah.
Well, and so Tom and Gerald, you guys mentioned that you made the point earlier that the Black Press started out as a place that Black people could find Black news. Now that's basically is no longer the case, right? Other papers, mainstream is really trying to corner that market too. So how do the publishers compete? Do they find themselves focusing less on Black news and more on general market news?
No, you could, well, and in fact, all right, here's an interesting point about that. The more the daily newspapers focus on Black news, guess what happens? They lose the white audience. And so at the end of the day, I will compete with them any day on providing Black news. But we still have to expand beyond where we are. We picked up soccer, and even though we focus on the Black soccer players, you show me the number of Black people that would go out and read something about soccer, because we are basketball, football, and some baseball type of players. But at the end of the day, we still picked up an audience for soccer. And so again, one of the things that we can't be in this business is this. We got to take the blinders off and say, and to Terry's point earlier, we got to figure out how to make money regardless of how we're going to do it. And so it's not just as simple as being, and let me put this kind of bluntly, what we're going to do if people start buying Black newspapers? Does the Black content go away? Does anything that we're trying to accomplish with putting news out there go away? Hell no, it doesn't go away. But if we are in the business of Black content, we got to figure out ways to sell it. And so it's not a matter of trying to stay in the newspaper business. It's a matter of staying in the content business. And that might include bringing other things to the table that we can sell, and keeping our focus on Black media and Black news. But at the end of the day, we got to start looking at things that's not so much old back in the day, but what's in the future. And that's where we are trying to stay focused on, is what's going to happen in the future, because we want to stay in business. It doesn't do me any good to be a Black entrepreneur in the newspaper business and I'm out of business. And so the key is you got to figure out ways to stay in business. And one thing I'm glad that I'm good at is just that. I'm not a journalist. I'm a businessman, but I got the best, and I will say this again, I got the best about me, and I will compete them with anybody.
I will say this. Back when we sold the papers, nothing but sale, you would know what you're doing. Are you putting what, the content that your people want? Are you promoting your paper the way people want? By the sale. But now you don't have that sale. People just take a bundle of papers and drop them here, they drop them there. And in competitive markets, your competition just come by and take all the papers. I mean, New York, man, you got all these papers here. I don't mean NNPA papers. I mean all the papers. You get a guy that went out and sold all these ads and started putting this paper in the supermarkets and got them all over. His competition is right behind him, taking them right off. So he thinks people are loving my paper. Oh, they loving my paper. Look at that. I can't even put them down before they pick them up. But those things are all in the garbage can. That's why you got to keep looking at it. And that's how competition is. So, but now, and that's possible because they're throwaway papers, they give away papers, they're circulars, they're whatever you call them, right? And they got no news content anyways, there's that. So, but if I don't know if people with the publishers who are setting and doing bulk drop and all that kind of way, are really in touch with the people they're serving, because the people aren't giving them the word that you're not doing what I think you ought to do. If you're not doing a focus group and saying, do you like this? Do you like that? You have promotion. If you put an ad, now, I'll tell you this. If you, whatever you claim I'll just use it. If your circulation is 100 and you put an ad in that paper and you gotta give yourself a quarter-page ad before anything. Give them back something. Give them whatever. And nobody calls up for whatever you want. Your circulation is nothing. You don't have a circulation because circulation has got to do with response to whatever you're doing, and general rule, whether it's true or not, there's what everybody goes by. White folks, black folks, everybody folks. That no matter what you got, 2% of the people are ready to buy it. 2%.
Whatever.
So 2% of your, what you call your circulation, doesn't respond, you don't have that much circulation. You don't have any circulation if nobody responds. See, we want to say, we just put it out there and it's gone from where we put it down because everybody got giveaway papers now.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody not giving away papers. The Daily News, the Times, everybody gives away papers.
Tom, I think Terry wanted to weigh in on that too.
Okay, he can weigh in on it.
Oh, thank you, Tom.
New Orleans.
But, you know, I mean, I agree with you 100%, Tom. What I'm saying is that, let's just say my father was a journalist. My sister was a journalist. I graduated in business administration. So even though I understand the whole journalism and have been in the business for these many years, I think that anybody who says they do general marketing, no, anybody says, anytime somebody asks me, say, well, how many white people read your paper? I said, I'm not sure, but I hope when they finish with it, they give it to a black person, because that's my market. So, this is a lot of people, this is market, because in business, like you find them at a niche, you find your market, and you sell and you promote that market. When you get general, you're lost in Never Land. So, but Pepsi Cola had a survey out a while back, and they said that in 25 years, the market there won't be a defined market. There won't be a black market or, you know, a Hispanic market, whatever. And at that time, you know, and a lot of people say, that's not true. I'm saying, you didn't listen. 25 years, you're going to be dead. They're not planning to change us, the market now. They're planning to deal with the online folks, the baby boomers that are talking to each other all the time, and eventually it's going to intermingle where it's not going to be an individual market. I got that, but I probably won't be in 25 years. If I am, I won't be concerned anyway. So
I'm going to miss you.
I'm focused on the market that I have, and I promote it and do what I can to make that market work and make it financially feasible for me to continue doing it. So that's what, in terms of, yeah. I'm eating scope, then you lose your power, I feel.
Yeah, and we're about 15 minutes remaining, so we want to make sure that we get everybody a chance to kind of sum up what the future holds for their individual paper as well as the Black press. And we can start with Tanya, because we tend to overtalk Tanya and get a little bit that we're not being respectful here.
What happened when Tom got on? But as far as the Savannah Tribune, I know that we will continue to publish. We will continue to print. I don't see not printing in the future. We will have a bigger presence online and on social media. That's kind of where we're going. We're doing videos, and we're uploading videos to our website. That drives people to the website to go look at their videos. So we just have to get creative about everything that we're doing, and even with the advertisers. The advertisers will pretty soon, because of the technology, we will probably be going to my auto dealers and getting in a car and videoing that and bringing that back and putting that online so that he will continue to be an advertiser. I just got to move in the direction where they need to be in. I got to follow that dollar. And if that dollar wants to be on a camera, on video, on my website with all those viewers, that's exactly where I want them to be. Because I want to continue to take care of the advertising.
Yeah, yeah. And Gerald Johnson, Charlotte Post.
Well, look, I'm a gambler, but here's the deal. I don't, not just black press, I'm just talking about press in general. Press is a labor-intensive operation, and it's an expensive labor-intensive operation. And if I look down the road, I can't see print being valuable forever. And my options are, and see, this is not about me personally, because I'm going to die someday, and I want the paper to continue. I don't want the paper to go away because I'm gone. And in order to do that, I don't know what the future holds. And so what we have to do is sort of hedge our bets and say we need to start as many options and opportunities to get this content out in ways that we can. And we even have to start thinking about possibly changing that content mix in terms of how we do it, the whole 9 yards. And I don't know what that's going to be. All I can do now with the time I have left is try to set the stage for the paper to continue after I'm gone. And that's not an easy task. I'll be the first to say that. It's driving me nuts with everything else that we have to do. But my vision is if the paper is going to continue, I can't bet on the fact that it's going to continue in the same mechanism that it is now. I can't bet. And my staff is betting that I'm betting right. But at the end of the day, you can't continue 10 to 15 years down the road thinking the way we are now and thinking now. We have to sort of look at this as a long-term operation, and looking at it long-term means that you got to think out of the box. You just got to think out of the box. You can't continue to stay locked in a box because you just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Tom Watkins.
Yeah, I was just listening to the good banker, the good publisher, the good man that knows about money. So I'm going.
I don't have any like you, but that's okay.
I agree with him, about how things are going, and whether papers stay has a lot to do with the NNPA. Mm-hmm. The NNPA has got to cut all these divisive moves that they let publishers make against publishers. And that was so outrageous. I'm still upset about it. I mean, if I didn't have the virus, I'd be making a virus or something. I mean, it was so outrageous that someone let somebody disqualify 50-some papers that had paid their money. And it horrified me that 50-some publishers would let them do it. And that kind of told me we've lost all. I mean, how are we going to stop people from taking advantage of our folks if we're not going to stop people from taking advantage of us? That's the craziest thing I ever heard of. And then try to justify it, by saying, oh, they didn't do this, oh, they paid their money. And I'm a guy that knows the Constitution, knows the bylaw. That was not right.
But Tom, let me say this though. You're speaking to an audience who has no idea what you're referring to. We know what you're referring
to. My audience right here, these people right here, these are the people that got to know. Because they're the people. No, let me tell you this. And everybody can learn something about this. These are the people that are going to save the NNPA, that are going to save Black thoughts, and going to put Blacks back where they're supposed to be in leadership positions and a strong Black media. I don't care if it's digital. I don't care if it's print. I don't care what it is. But us here, we have got to stop all this divisiveness among the NNPA and come together in the strong unit that we can be and were in the past, and I believe are going to be in the future. And I just had to see, I don't have their phone numbers and addresses, but I'd be sending them stuff all day about what unity can do and what we should be doing together. And got 40 million, 45 million Black people in this country that believe in us. I don't care whether they read, but they believe in what we do. Now, as far as the future, we are going to be fine. I don't believe, as Brother Johnson there said, it's going to be fine in print. Some of us will be in print, some won't, because some of us will survive in print. But everybody can survive on that digital thing if they use their head, find out what the people want, and give them what they want, and work towards it. And I think we're going to be just great. Matter of fact, we should be better than ever because we don't need as much to keep us afloat.
Yeah. And Terry Jones, the chair of this year's virtual conference.
Yes. Before, no, I'm joking. I thought it was fantastic. First of all, I'm excited. You know, again, we have Ziggy. We have, I think, impactively, what the goal is for not only in the industry but out of industry, people all come together, understanding what we've been doing for the last 193 years, but also what our charge and challenges and our focus is going forward, and how we can embrace and need, Black America, people of the proper perspective to move with us to make the African American newspaper NNPA stronger and better and stronger going into the future, young and old. And hopefully we can get that message and get more soldiers on the street, if you will, that relay that message of the importance of the Black press being here. I understand that we won't be in a print mode, or we might be online or whatever, but the purpose and the direction of the Black press that's been here and been vital, because if it's no good, then it goes away. You know, it's like your appendix. You know, it's like, and we've been here and it's been focusing. So I think that we, as the Black the movement of Black People Matter, and the just the thought of today of how things are going, I think we'll be a vital part of the information source going into this revolution, if you will, of the importance of African American and people of color. So I think we have a great future. I hope that we, with this convention, can catalyst from here on to being a vital part, a thumbprint, if you will, in the whole movement. So hopefully that will happen. Hopefully people will tune in and see who we are, where we've been going, and be entertained too, and understand that overall, the Black press is not dead, not gonna die anytime soon. And and get with it. You know, it's almost like, the stock market. I tell people the stock market is crazy. The stock market, somebody said, money's going down. So everybody starts spending, so money goes down. And somebody said, hey, get better. So everybody starts spending, so money gets better. But it's like it's not real. It's not tangible unless, you make it tangible. So the Black press is alive. And let's tell that story out in the world. The Black press is alive and well. And we want everybody to flourish with us. So yeah. I'm excited.
Well, Terry Jones of the Data News, he, again, the chair of this year's conference, the first virtual conference in the 80-year history of NNPA and the 193-year history of the Black press. And he keeps talking about Ziggy Marley, so we know he's excited about that. But the Black press, when the Black press gets together, entertainment is always a hallmark. And tonight we're going to start off the week with Eric Benet at 7 p.m. right here. You can tune in. We have a special interview with Eric Benet. And as to Terry's point, the conference was several things. Wells Fargo will do a presentation about navigating finances through COVID-19. There will be a town hall on education. There will also be Stephanie Mills. We'll speak to her live during the conference. We'll also speak with Anthony Hamilton, Denise Williams, Carlos Santana. We'll also speak to Leon, the actor and entertainer, Salt and Pepper, and also, as he mentioned, Ziggy Marley will be on. We'll be receiving an award, as will Nancy Wilson of the Supremes, and she will be giving a very special performance for the conference as well. So stay tuned. There are others. We're still getting people who are looking to join us, and some pretty big names too. So stay tuned. And it's virtual NNPA2020.com. It's free to register. Go right there, register, and you can take in all of the great things that we have planned this week. Thank you, Tom Watkins of the Daily Challenger in New York, Gerald Johnson, the Charlotte Post, Tanya Milton of the Savannah Tribune, and Terry Jones of Data News, and of course, our chair this year with the NNPA's conference. Thank you all. We'll see you later on with Eric Benet at 7 p.m. Stay well and stay safe. Stay safe.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Wonderful.